Hello students, I welcome you all to Current Affair Lectures by Azad ICS Academy, and today we are going to see the current affairs of 1st Feb. Very important today because we will discuss about a lot of economic survey related topics. Uh, so we will see what are the important survey, what are some of the important understandings or reports that we have, right? So let us see the first important topic, that is about when Donald Trump has become the US president. There are a lot of changes. There are good things and there are bad things that are happening. So we will discuss about that. So this is the introduction that it talks about. Okay. So United States President Donald Trump waded through dozens of files within an hour of being sworn in. The executive order. So he has come up with a lot of executive orders. Okay, so in which he's talking about Biden era's decision, whichever other era was that, he's talking about a lot of decisions that are there are going to be changed, of course. Campaigning commitments to make, this is something that we need to understand, that is make America great again. So this is what he's trying to, incorporate, base and extend orders for number of multilateral arguments and organizations. So there are some good things, there are some bad things that are going to happen. We'll see what are those things, right? So here we need to understand that the Trump administration's executive actions on immigration. So this executive actions or executive orders are going to be majorly on the immigrations. So you may get a prelims based question here that it is basically on the immigrations, trade, and AI. Okay, these are some of the important things that will impact India's workforce, economy, and diplomatic ties. Okay, so we need to have a lot of arrangements that we need to do, because whatever executive orders that are given by the Donald Trump is going to affect a lot of immigration, the trade that we have with USA, and also a little bit of artificial intelligence. This is something that India is going to, get affected, and that is why we have to focus upon, and we need to have a proper strategic, what you mean to say, adjustments that India needs to do. So what exactly it is trying to do, we will see that. Okay. So first thing is that we have to understand that Donald Trump has signed multiple executive orders. So he has signed a lot of executive orders immediately after taking into office, including those revocations. There'll be a lot of revocation of those orders which were there before his era or before he was taking into office. There were a lot of orders. He is also revoking all of them. Okay. So an exit order from multilateral agreements. He is going to come out of a lot of multilateral agreements which was there before, right? So the White House describes these actions as hundreds of executive actions in the first 100 hour of kicking off America's golden age. So here, what they are trying to say here is, you have to understand this. The decision that this particular president has taken, this is basically called as the White House. It referred to as hundreds of executive actions in the first 100 hours to kick off America's golden age. So to start the America's golden age, what has happened here is, in the 100 hour itself, what has happened here is there are hundreds of executive actions that are being taken, is what the White House is basically describing this particular executive orders as. Okay. Initially, India received positive signals, with External Minister S. Jaishankar attending the Trump's inauguration and holding meetings with US officials. So initially, we had very good positive responses. So you can see the Trump administration have been positive, giving India's External Minister of Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar visiting the Trump inauguration and meeting different ministers and having a lot of meetings with these officials. However, economy and trade policies under the Trump administration could pose. So we are not saying that it will. There is a possibility in the future. We have to keep on looking at these kind of changes that are going to happen, because in future anything can happen. So what are the things that we need to remember from here? So first thing is that Donald Trump has now become a new president of America, and he is going to do a lot of changes. So he's come up with a lot of executive orders. He has changed more than hundreds of executive actions in the first 100 hour itself. So he's trying to have a better America's golden age. So for this, what is it is going to affect in India? So it may affect immigration, trade, and AI for India. This is first thing that we need to understand. Second thing that we need to understand, there have been positive responses when our Minister, External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar has attended the meetings, and he has conducted a lot of meetings with the US officials as well. But what are the thing is that we still have a lot of issues and could face some of the issues for India. There could be a lot of challenges it can face, and it can cost to India. We are not sure. Again, it says could. That means there is a possibility we have good things, there is a possibility we have bad things. So we'll have to understand all these things in detail. So first thing is what we have to see here in this particular thing, the immigration crackdown. So what is this particular thing we are trying to talk about? On immigration, the Trump specific orders on securing borders. So he's trying to, talk about securing borders, guarding against invasion by illegal aliens. So he doesn't want any illegal aliens to come into America. He's trying to secure the border. So these are some things that he's trying to do. So the Trump's policy focuses on border security. So this securing border is basically nothing but border security. Stop illegal migration. So here he's talking about invasions by illegal aliens. Okay. And also he's talking about strict visa screening. So he's talking about something that should happen. That is the visa that is being given to the people. There should be a proper strict screening that needs to happen. The Immigration and Custom Enforcement Agency has increased raids and arrests affecting undocumented Indian immigrants as well. So here you need to understand that what has happened here is because of the visa issuance process on the another hand, as well as raids and arrest by the immigration and custom enforcement. So how in India we also have a lot of agencies. Similarly, in United States of America, you have an agency which is nothing but immigration and custom enforcement agency. What they're trying to do is they're trying to do in a lot of arrests, they're trying to do a lot of raids, and they have been arrested a lot of people who are not having any documents, who are Indians and who are still staying in United States of America, right? So undocumented Indian migrants. Over 7.5 lakh Indians are undocumented in USA and 18,000 Indians are detained for departure. So this is some of the news that we have. You have to understand this is something which is very bad, that here the number is saying that 7.5 lakh Indians are almost about 14 million in total undocumented migrants, and with 18,000 Indians are detained in the detention center for the final removal list for the deportation. So these are some of the people who are not having a proper documentation and who are still staying in America. Okay. India is now on the second largest group of citizens being granted US citizenship legally after Mexico. So Mexico is the first first set of people who have got the proper citizenship of USA. After that, India is there and have a concern about predominant sharing of HB1 visas as well. So this is another visa that people who are not from that particular country, USA, and who are staying there can still get this particular visa to stay there for a longer period of time, right? So the economic impact of the deportations include loss of remittance. If deportance increases, India will face economic losses and rise unemployment. So if these deportations happen, or if they're not, if they are removed from that particular list of not being able to stay in United States of America, whatever money that we are getting, see, whoever are not there in India, who are working in other countries, whatever profit they get, they send some remittance to India. Okay. And if they are not getting that proper, deportation, or they're not getting proper recognition in that particular country, they'll not be able to send money to us and we will have to face a lot of economic challenges. So this is something that we need to understand. So apart from this, what will happen here is that a lot of unemployment will get raised. Of course, trade pressure. Trump may use tariff to force India to accept deport immigrants. Okay. So, and trigger visa issues as well. So restriction on HB1 visa holders and work permit for spouse will reduce opportunities for Indian professionals as well. So there will be a lot of things that he can do. Okay. So this is something that we need to understand. And these are some things that can come up here. Okay. Apart from this, what we have is trade and weaponization or tariff weaponization. See, Trump's America first trade policy. There is, okay, Trump's trade policy plans, okay, needs none whatsoever going to be pronouncements and harsh punitive measures he undertook in his first term. So what happened is, when he was in his first term, what has happened here is we're likely to be more tariff-based pressure on trade partners, including India. So he is going to put a lot of pressure because we are going to have a trade partner. And because of the trade partners, he's going to put in a lot of pressure on India as well. This is what he did in his first time. Okay. In his first term, Trump withdrew India's generalized system for preference status and stopped oil imports from Iran and Venezuela. So basically, in his first term, what he has done here is that he has done some issues. Like you can see, India must be prepared for how it will respond to US weaponization for tariff and as a means of enforcement of Trumpian dictats. During the Trump 1.0, that is, and during his first time, what he did was New Delhi quietly accepted and withdrew of its general system of preferences status. See, what happens here is that we can export oil from other countries as well. So here, so import oil from other countries as well. So we have something called as generalized system for preference. So we give preference from which country we would want to take oil. And India quietly withdrew from this particular generalized system of preferences during the Trump's first time because he put in a lot of pressure on India. Okay. And that is basically what happened. And similarly, now similar things can also happen. Such actions might not only enable US bully tactics further, but may also incentivize others such as China to follow the suit. So if we are able to, talk about, if we are able to bend to USA, then what will happen is the other countries like China will also try to do the same thing. See, if we are trying to accept this generalized system of preference and we are trying to remove the status of other countries like Iran and Venezuela, that means we cannot import, or we are telling that we are not giving preference to Iran and Venezuela, we are giving preference to USA. This is what it says. But if this is what we are going to face in a lot of issues. The reason is because we will have less options to import oil for us, right? So this is something that is going to be very bad for us. Okay. Apart from this, India may face tougher trade negotiations as Trump prioritizes US economic interests. So as we have seen that, make America great again under this, Trump wants to make India great again and is not talking about other countries. So what here we need to understand here is that Trump is going to, if we are agreeing to all these things, then we will have to face in a lot of issues because Trump is only going to look into US's economic interest and not other countries' economic interests, right? So the evolving US-China relationship under Trump adds uncertainty as Trump's tariff threat treats to China are softer than accepted. So here we need to understand that the US-China relationship has confused, past over weeks. Okay. Now you can see that Mr. Trump's threat of 10% tariff on China is far lower than 60% as it would be imposed. While its invitation to Chinese president for the inaugural is a U-turn on TikTok ban, and so the way how USA is behaving towards China, we are not even sure whether whatever relations that they are showing, or whatever relations that India China is, whether it is good or whether it is bad, or how it is going to impact India, we are not sure yet. So there's been a lot of confusion that has been seen even in US China relations as well. Okay, there has been a lot of uncertainty. Even Donald Trump is calling Chinese president for the inauguration. So there is a lot of U-turn that is being taken, is something that you can understand. Okay, US does not want Taiwanese independence could upset many calculations, while previous attempts to make president for they had agreed to do everything possible to make world peace more peaceful and safe, suggest he also attracted some versions of ideas which will affect Indian economy, how primed US-China rivalry to accelerate, bringing in inflow of investments. So anyways, we have to understand that there's a lot of uncertainty that has been there. Now, apart from this, we have to understand that US withdraws from global agreements and their effect on India. So we have seen that there has been a lot of things that USA is withdrawing itself from. Like it is not a part of a Paris Agreement. Similarly, it is not, Trump exited organizations such as World Health Organization, also OECD, global tax deals, and rolled back commitments to climate change on green energy. So you have seen that over a period of time in last month when we did in a lot of current affairs, we have seen that USA is not willing to take part in climate change actions. So it is not trying to be a part of anything. So you can see that it is being withdrawn from World Health Organization also, right? And the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, global tax deals, the Paris Accord on climate change, or the Paris Agreement that we have on climate change. So in all these things, the United States of America is withdrawing itself. And this is showing that it is not going to take any actions for the betterment of the climate change or to improve the climate change actions. Okay, and this is going to face in a lot of issues to India as well. These actions could reduce US funding and support for India's energy transition and development projects. So automatically, because we are now trying to get into green energy, and probably US may not be interested in doing a lot of funds in India. And this is again a bad thing that India is going to basically face. Apart from this, there are other things that and AI there are issues when it comes to AI also, that is artificial intelligence and its economic consequences, right? The biggest economic consequences of Trump second term is going to be the measures with flow ever come from overdriven on artificial intelligence. So we have seen that now a lot of people are also losing their jobs because a lot of them are now switching to AI. So as we all know, this is another thing that we have to worry upon. So Trump's administration prioritized AI investment with $500 billion strategy AI infrastructure project launch. So here you can see that there has been a lot of investment that is being done when it comes to AI. And this is going to have in a lot of him that you can see that there is a launch of $500 million new administration. So here you can see that the launch of $500 billion new administration, and he's trying to come up with a lot of infrastructure projects, right? So here you need to understand that AI advancement aims to keep US ahead in technology and reduce reliance on foreign technology workers. So we do not want the other country workers to work, and they want to completely rely on themselves. Excuse me. And because of this, what Trump is trying to do is he's trying to do in a lot of investment within the AI sector itself, right? So this is something that he's trying to do. So what is he trying to do here is, see, AI job replacement risk. Tech leaders like Google's Sundarai Pichai says that 25% of the new code is AI generated. So whatever new codes are there, they are now generated using AI itself, and they are not generated using the human brain or something like that. Listen carefully when Google CEO Sundar Pichai says that more than 25% of the new code at the company is already generated by AI, although it is reviewed by engineers at present, and they pay heed to Mark Zuckerberg when he says that AI will begin to replace mid-level engineers at Meta and other tech companies this year. So imagine a lot of people, okay, if they are getting replaced, imagine mid-level engineers are going to get replaced in Meta and other tech companies. That means a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, because there is going to come in a lot of AI is going to come. They are going to do a lot of coding. AI will write the code of the company, and this is not a good sign again. Okay, so these changes may reduce the demand of Indian tech professionals seeking US jobs. People who are, in USA, who are Indians who are working in big technologies, they may lose job or they may not get jobs. So India's, going to face in a lot of challenges here also. India's response and future strategies that we need to look into is, what is the conclusion that we need to come to here is that India must rethink its education and skilling policies to absorb impact of different graduates, right? So we need to understand that there is something that we need to do when it comes to, pushing in our students, right? New Delhi must factor its Trump trade and immigration policies while engaging diplomatically with USA. Okay, India's reliance on IT BMP sector, which contributes 55% on GDP of 40% of export, means it must adopt global shifts and in AI and digital industries. So we need to have in a lot of things that we need to do. That is India's trade policy, free trade agreement negotiations, and work out in regional comprehensive economic partnership over a last decade have been largely driven by the logic of promoting Indian services. So information technology, business process management accounts 55% of the GDP and 40% of India's exports. And we need to rethink about this. Okay, so we need to stop relying only on this particular thing, and we need to explore more other opportunities. Okay. If a big tech were the first to send hundreds of thousands successful Indian Americans to USA, to show from 1960s was necessity by US desires to overturn Soviet Union, Russia after launching the Sputnik satellite. So they're just telling us that what we need to understand here is that the Trump administration policies on immigration, trade, and AI are significantly going to impact India. Point number one, and the workforce. India must proactively adjust its diplomatic and economic strategies to navigate these changes effectively. So there should be a proper diplomatic relation, and we need to handle all the issues that are there, irrespective of immigration, irrespective of job, irrespective of economy, workforce. We are going to make sure, or India must make sure that there is a proper negotiation. Otherwise, India is going to face in a lot of issues. As a result, New Delhi must engage with all its tech, trade, and immigration trends pertain to India's future and economic concerns. It must factor up its diplomatic negotiations with Trumpika, that is Trump's America, right? So this is something that we need to understand. The next important article that we have here is higher profit share, stagnant wages, growth slowing economic. This is a survey. So this is talking about growth. You can say profit surges, wages lag, right? So this is a kind of a survey or a report that we have. So let us discuss about this. The economic survey highlights the need of balanced corporate profit growth and wages increase to sustainable economical development. So here the survey is telling us that, okay, or it is highlighting that there should be a balance between the corporate profit growth, whatever profit that corporates are getting, and apart from that the wages increase also should be accordingly, accordingly it should be same, so that there should be a proper sustainable growth. Okay, so see, growth in corporate profit needs to be communicated with the wages to boost the economy. The economic service said that noting that sharp disparities between the two poses a risk for economy by curbing demand. So here, let us assume that this is a company who is getting in a lot of money, but they're not increasing the wages of that particular person or that particular employee. Then there will be a lot of imbalance, and this is going to affect the economy. Because if I am not getting more salary, what will I do? I will not be able to invest more, and there'll be no economic growth, right? So this is something that we need to understand. Disparities between the profit and the wages risk the demand on which it shows there is a slow economic growth. See, I'll tell you, understand. If I have, let us assume my salary is around 50K and I spend around 20K for my life. I'm just giving you an example. The remaining 30K, what I will do here is maybe I will start investing it somewhere. Maybe I will go and keep the money in the bank. If I'm able to keep the money in the bank will be able to give more loans. And if the more loans are taken by the sectors, industrial sector or, sectors, what is going to happen is there will be a economic growth. But what if the salary is only, let us assume 25K? I will spend all 20K and I will be only left with 5K and I will not be able to put this 5K to investment. And even if I put it, it is going to be very, very less. So we need to understand that the profit is there, but the wages are not that appropriate. And because of this, what's going to happen here is there is going to be a lot of economic slowdown. And this is not a good sign, right? So this is something that we need to understand. Concerns about economic inequalities. A slight rise in the labor share of gross value addition is noted, but large corporate profits are growing concerns. So here you can see that there is a slight increase, okay, in the gross value added. But if you see the profits that the corporates are getting is very, very high when that compared to the, what do you mean to say, people who are getting the labors or labor share. High corporate profits and stagnant wages can decrease consumer spending, limiting economic demand. As I already told you, if I am only left with 5,000 rupees, do you think I'll be able to spend them on something? Obviously, what I will do is I will not spend them. I may not go for an outing. I may not buy a luxury product. I may not be able to, buy something. And this is going to economically, this is going to make the economy slow down, right? So understand this, that if I'm doing more spending, that means I am contributing more to the economy. And if I'm doing less spending, that means there is economic slowdown. Please understand this, right? So apart from this, what we need to understand here is that, so economic growth and employment income, what we need to understand here is sustainable growth depends upon increasing employment incomes to drive consumer spending and investment in the production. A fair distribution of income between the capital and the labor is essential for the long-term sustainability. So if you want to have a long-term sustainability, there should be proper, rise in the wages as well. It is essential for the sustainable demand and support corporate revenue and profitable growth in medium and long run is pointed out. So we need to understand that the fair distribution of income between the capital and the labor is essential for the long-term stability. Okay. Corporate profitability reached 15-year peak in financial year 2023-2024, largely driven by financial energies and automobile sector. Profit rose by 22.3%, but the employment only grew for 1.5%. So here you need to understand that the profit is growing, but the employment rate is not that much. Okay, so this is something which is not good, right? Similarly, the wages growth has also slowed within the employee expenses, raising just 13% in the financial year 2024. Right? So this is again not good. These are some of the, things that they've given us telling us how that there is increase in the profit, but there is not any much increase in the employment level or in the growth of the wages of these particular employees. Okay. Now, improved labor market indicates. So post-pandemic recovery and formalization have improved labor market indicators in India. Unemployment has decreased and labor force participation has increased. Sectors like digital economy and renewable energies have offered potential for job creation as well. So we need to understand there are some things, there has been good things as well. So there has been a lot of recovery that has happened post-pandemic. Okay, there is increase in the formalization. A lot of formal sectors have been increased. Okay, labor market indicates in India have been improved sustainably in the past few years. As per periodic labor force survey, an unemployment rate in India has dropped significantly and labor force participation and worker population ratio have shown considerable improvements as well. So here you can see that over a period of time after post-pandemic, we can see that the unemployment rate in India is coming down. Okay, additional sectors such as digital economy, renewable resources have been created a high quality jobs which are essential for achieving Vikasit Bharat vision or Viksit Bharat vision. Okay, the survey also advocates fostering of enabling workers regulation. So there should be proper labor regulation environment that supports business growth, create employment and promote economic development. So these are some of the things that we have seen. So what is the first important point that we need to note from the economic survey? Point number one, that the corporate profits are increasing, but the wages and the employment rates are not getting increased. Okay, this is something that we need to understand. Here you can see that the corporate's profit has been 22.3% in the financial year 2024, but the employment has just grew for 1.5%, which is very, very less. Okay, State Bank of India analysis reveals that 44,000 listed companies record a moderate 6% revenue growth. Okay, so we need to understand that the economy employment expenses rose from 13% down to only 17%. So it is, last year they were spending 17%, and this year they're only spending 13% on the workforce. That means the hike that they've done last year was better, and this year whatever the hike they've done is not that good. So you can see that the profits are increasing, but the level or the things that they're doing for the employees are not increasing, and that's not a good sign. This is something that we need to understand. The next important topic that we have is excessive financialization can hurt India's economy. There is a caution, and this is also given by the economic survey itself. What is financialization of saving? So let us understand. The economic survey warns about financialization risk, urging balance between financial sector growth and stability. So here we need to understand that economic survey is telling us a warning. So the first warning that it is giving us is that there should be a proper balance between, first thing, that is the employment growth or corporate growth and the labor growth. The second thing that they're talking is about the financialization. Okay, let us see what does this exactly talk about. The economic survey warns against excessive financialization, as rising household savings in the stock market can harm economy, especially in the low middle class and countries like India. So we need to understand that households are all the people who are getting salaries. Okay, and what has happened here is a lot of people are investing in mutual funds and SIP or something like that. Okay, so because of this, what's happening here is, and because of excessive financialization, it can hurt the economy and cost maybe particularly those people who are in a lower middle class income countries like India. So the economic survey has been cautioning us. So in 2022 closely, 18% of Indian households invested in at least one of the risky assets. So all these assets are not safe. They are not secure. There is a lot of risk. And what if you lose the money? Or what if you do not get that much of interest? So here you can see risk investments in purchases. So here you can see in 2022, the investment was only 15.7%, but in 2024, you see a lot of people have a lot of money probably, and they're investing in risk assessment or risky, shares or something like that. Okay. Financialization can lead to over resilience on financial market, increasing public and private sector debt and causing economic growth to depend on rising asset prices. This can worsen inequalities and influence policy making as well. So automatically here, because sometimes the shares may go high, they may come down, and because of this, what's going to happen is there will be a lot of inequalities, and like this, the policy makers will not be able to have a proper policies that they can basically do. Right. So there is a need of a balance that we need to understand. And how are we supposed to be balanced? So India must maintain a balance between a financial sector development and financialization. Okay. So how it can be done? This requires understanding of country's context, including household financial saving investment needs and financial literacy. So there should be a lot of literary thing that needs to be understood. See, nowadays, what has happened is if you call somebody, they are telling, Ministry of Finance is basically, or Home Affairs is basically telling you something, that if you're getting a call from cyber cell or from police station saying something, please do not do anything because it is a financial crime. Okay, it could be a cyber crime. So similarly, there should be a lot of literacy that should be told about the finances as well. If you are investing in any of these sectors, what are the consequences that are there, whether it is good or whether it is bad, it should be told to the people. So this is something that they can do. And according to the survey of India, India should strive to maintain a fine balance between the financial sector development and growth on one hand, and financialization on the other hand. It means that the country has to chart its path with respect to the context, considering and leaving the financial savings in the household, its investment needs, and leveling the financial literacy. So we need to understand that it should give a proper financial literacy, ensuring that the incentives in the sector and are consistent with the national growth aspiration and policy imperative. So whatever policies that we're trying to do, all these things should be aligned, or policies must be aligned, incentivizing in the financial sector with the nation's growth goal. So whoever is, investing for the growth of the nation, they should be given incentives, not for their own growth. Such kind of people should not be given any incentives. So the policies, whatever they are making, should also give incentives only to those people who are investing for such a situation where nation is also growing. The survey said that while there is evidence of increasing resilience on financial market as a funding source, they may work in tandem with banking sectors to bridge the capital requirement gap as well. So we must also be prepared. So financial markets and banking sector should have a proper coordination. So while Financial markets are becoming significant funding source. They must also work along with the brand, bank as well. And what are the regulations that need to be done? So we need to understand what are the regulations that they need to do, and we'll see what is that. Additionally, the banks need to enhance their capabilities to meet the demands of the new age households and digital economy while maintaining primary credit creation, function, etc. So, what are the regulatory measures that India needs to take? See, India must be prepared for vulnerability arising from the financialization with appropriate regulatory measures and government interventions when necessary. So, if anybody is trying to invest more money, that is when the government needs to come up with a proper regulatory and government policies. So, it will have to intervene and mitigate whenever there is risk. Okay, so the country is undergoing this transformation. It is crucial to be aware of the potential vulnerabilities. So, whatever issues any particular family is facing because they have invested in these risks, government also should need to intervene. Okay, whenever there is a risk. Bank also need to adapt to a new digital era. So we have seen that there is a lot of digitization that's happening, and banks also need to get adapted to this particular digital economy and new age household demands while continuing their role in credit creation as well. Right. So this is something that we need to understand. The next important thing that we have here is India should not shut coal plants without alternatives. See, we are saying that we want to get into green energy, right? And because of green energy, we want to reduce all our carbon dioxide levels. Yes, all this is true. But that does not mean we shut down all our coal plants without having any alternatives. So there should be some alternative, and that is when we can shut down all our coal plants. Okay, this is something that we need to understand. The economic survey discusses India's energy transition challenges also. So economic survey is talking about everything. It is talking about how people are not investing in a proper secured things, and because you automatically, if you're investing in mutual funds or something like that, the returns that you want to get is more, but there is risk. Obviously, people are now trying to take risks. So similarly, it is talking about that. It is talking about how there is a gap between the corporate profit increase and the lag in the wages, right? So similarly, it is also telling us that India should not shut down its coal plants without having alternatives. So India must harness the best resources, advancing technologies and expertise to become developed nation by 2047. So by 100 years of our independence, we want to become a developed nation from developing nation. So to ensure that, we need to have a proper best sources. Okay. And we also have to focus on the low carbon pathway. To achieve this, it must leverage the best sources, advanced technologies, and expertise. However, coal-fired plants should not be shut down without reliable alternatives to avoid disruptions. So, because we need to understand that we want to become carbon-free, but that does not mean that we will shut down all the coal plants without having a proper alternatives. Okay, the energy transition witnessed this last century were driven from economic interest rather than it will be limited to emissions from advancement economies. Commercial interest and energy security remains the most significant factor. So we need to understand that there is a lot of transition that has happened. Energy transition driven by commercial interests, right? So historically, energy transitions have been driven by commercial interests rather than reducing. So here you can see that in the history, whatever we have done, the transition that we have done are driven by the commercial interest and not depending on something like we want to reduce the emission. It was not our goal. We wanted to, look into the commercial interests. Okay. Energy security and commercial interests remain most significant factors in shaping the transition of cleaner energy. Developed and developing nations alike are influenced by these considerations, making energy choices. So we have seen that how developed countries and developing countries are thinking in two different manners when it comes to climate change. Right? So what we need to understand that we have here is no valid rationale. So here we need to understand that so challenges that particular developing nation have when we want to get into net emission zero or whatever it is that matter. What are the issues that we have, and what is that other examples that we have? Global examples for transition. These are the examples that they have given. Okay, so the economic survey highlights France shifts to nuclear power plant in 1970 due to oil. And so you can see that the France is shifting to nuclear energies, right? Similarly, the European Union reintroduced something called as RE Power EU plan in 2020, investing around, which is somewhere around 9,000 crores, right? For the investment of liquefied natural gas infrastructure and additional 18 crores designed to secure oil supplies. So you can see that how they have been shifting. Similarly, in 2023, the US administration approved its largest oil drilling projects in Alaska, highlighting ongoing resilience on fossil fuels. So like this, there has been a lot of things. So actions speak louder than words. It's a biggest beneficiaries of carbon incentive growth over a several centuries, holding on fossil fuels, even as they do not want to develop, they do not want the developing countries to take up less efficient, costlier, and risk opportunities it marked. So here we need to understand that in case of India, the larger expansion of coal-fired power plant was made only in 2010. So you can see the transition that we have done is in only 2010, and thereafter there has been no valid economic rationale, okay, for shuttering coal plants, which would cause huge investments, could have a lot of issues when it comes to India. So developing nation continue to depend on fossil fuels, even as they urge the developing countries to adopt costlier and less efficient energy solutions. For India, shutting down coal plant would lead to a lot of, issues or underutilization of significant investments that were made. So we have made in a lot of investment when it comes to 2010, especially in the coal plants, and it's not even been 10-15 years and we want to shut down them. So it will be like we are not utilizing. So there will be a lot of underutilization of all these resources that we have put in. So this is not correct, right? So this is something that we need to understand. India's net zero emission goals. India's goals to achieve the net zero emission by 2070 and direct innovation and investment in addressing the problem related to renewable energy, battery storage, grid infrastructure, and critical minerals. These survey has renowned. Okay, the country is focusing on what? It is focusing on a lot of innovation. It is focusing in a lot of investment on renewable energy, battery storage, etc. Transition to renewable energy faces challenges like, what are the challenges that we are going to face? This is something that we need to understand. So if you want to, go from renewable energy to non-renewable energy, non-renewable energy to renewable energy, that is to transitioning to the renewable energy. Okay, there are a lot of infrastructure. I mean, what you mean to say, limitations that we have. What are the limitations that we have? Especially the significant problem that we have is regarding the cost and managing complex energy systems. Secondly, shifting to renewable energy also has raised electricity prices. So automatically what is going to happen here is higher electricity prices, complexity in managing both fossil fuels and renewable energy. These are some of the challenges that we are going to face. So this is all for today. We have discussed three important economic survey related topics. I would want you to do in a lot of more research, because over a period of time, these economic survey will influence our budget as well. So hence, what we need to understand here is these economic surveys are going to be important. If possible, I'll also try to make a video on economic survey itself, right? So over a period of time, I will also keep telling you what are the important points. For example, in today's current affairs itself, we have discussed three important topics when it comes to economic survey. Three important highlights that economic survey has told us to look after, right? I'll see you in the next class. Thank you so much. If you have enjoyed the class, please put it in the comment sections. If you want me to improve on something, please put that also in the comment section. Thank you so much.